Redzone Production System is the sponsored partner of the event. Special thanks for their support. So Luca, go ahead.
Hello. 1 second, I'll just share my screen. We've got another couple of panelists joining us as well. Okay. So we just need to unmute the panelists as well. I think we have Oscar Sluiter. And then Oscar,
good morning.
if you want to show your camera. Hello. And then also Kim Kratz, if you want to show your camera and microphone, Kim.
Hello, good morning.
I cannot yet share my video.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay, 1 second.
I'm just giving you co-host option. It takes a second. Quim. Yes. Co-host. Now you can switch on and off the microphone. Yeah, perfect.
Fantastic. And I think we're waiting for Giuseppe to join, but that's the third panelist. We also have Paul Sutcliffe as well. Paul, are you with us?
Good morning.
Hello. Okay, we'll just give it a minute or so, and then we'll dive straight in.
Look, just to update you, I see in my system your internet is not so perfect to update you.
Okay. Do tell me if it's not great in a second or so, and I might turn off my camera to make sure you can
yeah, it will be better quality, I think. Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Brilliant. So I think we'll go in because we're a couple of minutes kind of into the session. But first thing I want to say is please ask any questions to our panelists in the chat as we go through this. We'll keep an eye on those questions on the right-hand side. Before I introduce the panelists properly today, I want to set the scene. We've spent a lot of time hearing stories around digital transformation strategies from the likes of Nestle over the last day or so. Ultimately, most businesses in this sector are in the same boat. We're embarking on the first steps of a long digital transformation journey. One of the biggest problems for most manufacturers is finding and keeping the people to execute those processes on the shop floor. So we have lots of data, but we need to engage people in that data and build it into their routines to get the best results. The promise of more automation seems to be automate those humans out of production. But if we look back at the last year or so, that will tell you that no technologies really had that pandemic setting. So it was people who innovated processes and protocols that helped us win the day. My name is Luke Savage. I'm the coaching director for Redzone Production Systems. We work with food, beverage, and CPG manufacturers. And really what we're doing is helping companies achieve three main common goals. Just to introduce the panelists first, we've got Oscar Sluiter, Senior Director of Global Supply Chain for Griffith Foods, Kim Kratz, the Factory Manager for Griffith Spain, Paul Sutcliffe, the International Sales Director for Redzone Production Systems, and Giuseppe Onorato, Vice President of Supply Chain and Manufacturing for Europe and Africa at Griffith Foods.
Look, sorry. We have to allow Giuseppe for his camera and his sound. He's waiting for that.
Okay, not a problem.
1 second.
Well, not a problem. So largely we're helping businesses do three common goals. So firstly, they want to increase capacity and reduce costs, improve material and labor and material utilization, and ensure food safety. Historically, the way that companies have achieved this was through automation, ERP, MES, and management consultants. The automation unlocks some pretty incredible productivity increases. It removes dangerous and repetitive work, but oftentimes it locks us into doing something one way. If the business needs change or the product portfolio changes, we're very often left with a large, expensive line that we're looking to repurpose. The second way is ERP systems. They came around in the mid-80s and grew in sophistication. They were really designed to transact things. Fast forward, organizations tried to extrapolate that software into something like MES systems. And that does a good job for providing information off the equipment and provide information to consultants or managers that are coming in to try and draw insights. But there's still manual intervention. And I think most people in the audience will be very familiar with this picture on the right-hand side. We're very frequently seeing those war rooms with all of the paper data from yesterday. And we're reviewing and talking about that today. So year over year in this sector, we're looking at typically a 2.8% productivity improvement. A recent Gallup survey said that 7 out of 10 employees are unengaged, and we're staring down the barrel of a 2.4 million labor shortage. So how are we going to connect with the shop floor and get more productivity out of the current equipment? A very brief introduction to the solution that Redzone provides before we go into the panel discussion. It's a cloud-based application that was developed for iPads with 3 main modules. That's productivity, compliance, and maintenance. We're not trying to repurpose the old clunky ERP or MES system from a website. There's no configuration, and it's ready to go out of the box for customers. They're using the hardware that you can buy off the shelf, and this product travels. We're global. With Griffith Foods, you'll hear their story in a second. We're in APAC, EMEA, and across the Americas. We recognize that actually operators on the shop floor universally have common challenges and common objectives. As Griffith took part in our study, our 2021 benchmark study, anonymously analyzed 300 of our community members and their performance going through the 90-day deployment. And on average, we see a 12-point increase in OEE. Now that's unheard of in the industry, but Redzone's community make that the norm. That 12-point uplift equates to an average 22-point productivity uplift. We are the #1 vendor in the space, and we focus around food, beverage, and CPG goods. We've refined our process across both mature and newer production systems. We've got 750 plants, 375,000 workers, and 1 in 3 of the top 100 food and beverage businesses are using the platform now. That's enough from me. I'm sure everyone would much rather hear from our panelists. I'm going to hand over to Oscar Sluiter, who will start by introducing a little bit about Griffith Foods.
Thank you, Luke. I'll keep it short, but just to give you the picture of the challenges that led us to choose Redzone. We're a global company, about 1 billion turnover, and we're present in all of the continents. Our original base is from Chicago. You can see that here from the different sites where the original focus was. But we truly do produce globally for all sorts of customers in the food industry. We have about 26 plants, about 4,200 employees, and we're active in 30 countries from a production and a sales point of view, but we actually spread out towards almost all countries in the world. Griffith Foods is the core, but it actually is a family of food companies. Griffith Foods is the base from which it started, but we also have a company called Custom Culinary, which focuses more on the food service side of things. Innova Flavors, which makes its own savory flavors, and Terova, which is the latest edition. We have a lot of experience with sustainable ingredients, new type of ingredients like banana flour, beer malt reusage, and things like that. And we're selling that now through the Terova subsidiary. So what we do is we deliver customized, and that's a very important point here, taste, texture, healthy and nutritious solutions. And the actual products that we send go on to processors and to QSR, the retail and food service. And what we actually produce in our factories are like dry seasonings, sauces and dressings, marinades, coating systems, and they go into all sorts of different types of products. They will go into your crisps, they will go into your ready meals as a marinade for the chicken and a sauce package with it. They will go onto vegetables, they will go onto alternative proteins, fish, meat, anything that you can think of. Can go to next, yeah. So the core thing here, and that is very important to us, but because it paints the picture for our factories as well, is that the way we approach this, we do this customized for our customers. So that means that our chefs, and we have a lot of them all over the world that work together with our scientists and our consumer insights and the whole group with our customers and with the processors to develop the next season trends and the next season's products. We're like the fashion house, I always say, for the food industry. So we predict what will come onto the market next year and the year after. That also means that everything that we do changes relatively fast. So that means that we have a lot of different products that go through the factories through days and over the different lines. So we have a lot of changeovers, a lot of very specific requirements from our customers, be it dietary, be it for legislation. We produce in sites where, for instance, let's say in Thailand, a poultry processor will export to the UK and to Japan. That means that we will develop the seasoning in such a way that it works perfectly with the legal systems and with the local expectations in the UK and in Japan. So that really makes it a global approach with a lot of constraints. As a consequence of that, we have very little automation, relatively speaking, in our factories. It's all about flexibility, and we value humans, people, to the maximum extent because they are very flexible and they can adjust from one product to another product. A couple of years ago, we were doing really well. We're still doing really well, to be honest. We're growing rapidly, and the reality is that we were running into capacity issues. And as Murphy's Law has it, we're not running into one site into capacity problems. We were running into all major sites at the same time, which, of course, from a capital point of view, is a big problem, a challenge. And what we started realizing is we started working on outsourcing and everything else to support our production systems. But we also started measuring more closely what capacity we actually had and that we could get from our assets. And we had dabbled already with OEE, and we had a continuous improvement program, more from the top level upwards. And the reality is that we realized that we were still not sweating our assets enough. There was still a lot of capacity in our systems. But to unlock that, we needed to do a different approach. So we had already started with a lean program, and particularly focusing on the extensive cleanings that we need to do in between the changeovers and everything else, and started measuring things on paper. But as you could see, and as what Luc was referring to, usually the paper information actually only ends up at the manager's hands, and it's usually 1 or 2 or 3 days old by the time you get it. And that was really a downside in our very fast changing product mix. And what that meant is that often the data was already out of date, or it was not that relevant anymore, and you can't do much for it on that shop floor at that particular point in time. The reason why we chose Redzone at that particular point in time was really because we could tie up the different levels within the factory. What it means is that with the Redzone technology, and you can see it here on the right-hand side on the shop floor, we have introduced behavior where the teams on the shop floor provide their input. They don't only measure, the system measures, but they provide the input on how we can improve things right away at that particular point in time. And that is extremely important for us because all these little changes make a system more stable and improve it dramatically. What it also supports, and that is very important as well, of course, is that the overall trends can be viewed, let's say on a shift basis, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, etc. So the plant management also has the tools that tie into those activities from the shop floor to tackle the bigger problems. And if you then pull it across a number of different sites, you can actually also fundamentally change and find where real problems are in the way that we do our processes, and really optimize that. And there's a nice example. If you look at the right-hand side here, Oswego in Illinois, one of our factories for custom culinary, people on the shop floor had been complaining that their machines were running slow on certain products because the extrusion of the sauce, which is actually more like a paste, was way slower than what the machine was designed for. And that had something to do with the way that it was, the product was designed by R&D. With the tools that they had now, they could actually quantify the benefits. And with those benefits, they went to R&D and said, look, if you can help us on making these products flow better through our production systems, we can produce more and we can produce it cheaper. And within half a year, they've really revised a substantial part of their products with some minimal changes often, but really made that whole discussion, quantified the discussion, and really pulled that together themselves. And this was really shop floor upwards, working together with the team. And that has been very, very powerful on that.
That's brilliant. So, so Kim, bring you into the discussion because you're at the coalface in the Griffith Spain plant. What has been the transition for you moving from, and if you could explain kind of what the factory was like before with the paper methods, and what is the transition? What kind of tools do you have now? And what's the engagement from the shop floor?
Yeah, morning, everybody. Yeah, I have to start with my previous life because when I started, well, my previous life was in a very big company. And in that case, I used to measure everything, and everything was, let's say, in the automatic way, no manual way. No manual works. So when I started in Griffith 4.5 years ago, nothing of what I used to see or I used to do happens there in Griffith, here in Griffith. So my first question, because I was absolutely surprised. My first question to my team in the shop floor was, okay, after your 8 hours working very hard in the shop floor, what is your feeling? Are you happy with your work, with your relationship with your machine? What are you going to explain to your family about your journey? And we had always different feelings, different answers for the same result. So no alignment, no standardization, nothing was clear in the shop floor. So what we did, and this was orchestrated by one of our man in our audience, maybe he is listening me, Mark Nadal, he started to measure it manually as well. In Griffith, manually is, as Oscar said, was a usual thing. So we started to measure manually. And we, at the end, what we created is a daily management system, but homemade, let's say. And what we achieved with that is that we were preparing our people, and we didn't know that, but we were preparing them to the change, because in that moment they started to hear words like OE, yield, efficiency. And after that period, 1.5 years, in a, again, manually way, Redzone appeared. And thanks to Oscar and to Giuseppe, because they had a very big push for that. And in that point, when Redzone appeared 8 months ago here in Griffith, we were ready to accept the change, and our people was absolutely ready to start to play with the iPads, with the system, because some concepts like, as I said, OE, efficiency, quality, performance, blah, 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 was absolutely familiar for them. So this was more or less the change that we experienced with Redzone. From nothing to have a clear picture in a live mode of what is happening in our lines.
Fantastic. So I think Giuseppe Onorato has joined us as well. Is this a picture that you saw across all of the plants, Giuseppe?
I must say that, yes, indeed, it was widely spread in the similar situation. And I must say that we have also started trying the different technologies, prior looking at Redzone as a system. So you normally want to go through consulting, but we found out that it wasn't working extremely well, because once they leave, well, any improvement stays or not, it goes with them. Automation, it's extremely good. However, you don't want to automate an inefficient process. And to optimize, you need data. You need to measure to manage. And any ERP is basically useless if you don't really get a good and validated set of data. So what actually Redzone allowed us to do was to gain visibility through, actually most importantly, provide the team a lot of leadership and drive, bottom up. Accountability and results, that is what, as a leaders, we always want to achieve, came naturally after that. Live data are utmost importance for the shop floor engagement. And the message I would like to leave with is that if you would not have your shop floor team taking the lead on the digitalization, well, that will not happen. And Redzone has been actually the right enablers for us for that.
Fantastic. So how did you use the data in your routines on the shop floor? And it's probably one for Kim, because you were at the coal face. How did you embed the data into your routines to make those improvements?
What Redzone helps us to orchestrate is for example, to share with the shop floor team the objectives. Know the big ones, because those are clear. The big features are clear for all of us. The point is how to achieve in a daily basis those big goals. So Redzone, for example, with the huddles at the beginning of every shift, give us visibility, give us the starting point from this shift, and then we can close comparing the small objectives with the final result. And as Giuseppe said, give to our force the information to improve and to gain ownership, to gain responsibility, to take the lead of their own work. And we are managing the information in that way, just to align all the goals and to give them what they need. They need to understand why they are doing things. And Redzone is providing us this very quality information.
Fantastic. And that's one of the questions that's come in from the audience as well. So Lola has asked, I agree that manual activity prompts initial engagement, but soon operators get frustrated wanting more data accuracy. Was the data reliable? To Kim.
Yeah, we have there are a lot of information. The data that we are sharing and comparing at the same time is, of course, we are looking for the efficiency. If we are not efficient, we cannot play. So the quality, the performance, and the availability of each line are controlled in a live mode. So every time that I can console my iPad, I can know how the plan is performing. So basically these three pillars. And then with the new compliance model, then we can check the quality of our products, because of course for us, as Oscar said, is a key point. So quality could be checked in a few days for us in a live mode as well. I don't know if this is the right answer, but the main pillars are those.
Maybe if I may add on that, if you think, for instance, on the compliance mode, usually what we used to do all around the world is have these checklists on paper. The checklist then goes to an admin clerk, and that gets entered into the system in the end. Usually that means that if a check has not been done properly, or that there might be that it takes a day or 2 days to find that out, which in our environment is extremely, I'll say that it's almost history. What it allows with the live systems to do is to see immediately if all the checks have been done, yes or no, if they have done in the proper way, and whether there's any issues that were there. What it also allows is the operators to directly take a photograph of anything that is wrong, whether it's with the production line, whether it's with the materials, with the checks, or anything that is there. They use the photographing capability of the Apple tools and they can immediately visualize that, which it makes it a lot easier to communicate and to raise it to the right level to tackle it. And that really does help. With regards to the accuracy of the data, it is directly, the measurement is very simple. It's directly on the lines themselves. You have a lot of influence on that yourself, whether how accurate that you want to make it. But the key thing is, at the end, there's a lot of small adjustments that the shop floor does. But of course, when you then look at the shift leaders, the plant leaders, they can see the Paretos over a longer period of time, and they can tackle that in a fundamental way. And that really, really makes a big difference on getting the lines more stable and generating capacity and reducing cost.
So obviously, as part of this, you've got the visual factory in place as well, which is the live dashboards around the site. There's a question in from the audience as well. To which degree your processes are flexible? Is there any real-time process change based on the collection of that data? So are you impacting the line in real time? Yeah,
actually, I'm happy to take that. So basically, we don't really have a continuous production line. We do batching. So let's say from that perspective, we are not fine-tuning while producing. However, the data from Redzone has allowed us to understand which machine is performing better with which product. Mm-hmm. And that certainly allowed a different scheduling and planning, optimizing our assets. So that was a really good big value added.
Fantastic.
Yeah, as an example, sorry, and to complement the Giuseppe answers, we have identified in 8 months three important projects to close the 3 main gaps in the factory, giving us a very big improvement in terms of OE. And this is thanks to the data that is collecting by the system, by the operators, and this is the result.
Fantastic. Now, people engagement was a big thing that we saw. So we've seen a few photos flowing through here. And one of the photos, the final one here, is actually your Thailand team winning the award, the Team of the Year award for Redzone. We've got 700 plants that are on Redzone. The Thailand team won that award. What went into that? And what was the people engagement that came from it, Oscar?
Yeah, that was a very interesting project because that was the first one that we did virtually. We literally had the Redzone tickets booked to go to Bangkok and implement, and then COVID happened. So together we decided to try it, to do it virtually, which because of the language might have been a major challenge. Having said that, what it actually did force us is really to even more than normal focus on having the right people on the team. And as you can see, there's one UK gentleman who originally, but he lives in Thailand, was part of the team, but it was actually driven by Kun Boyd, who is one of the Thai team members there. And they've really taken it onto themselves, and their ownership actually has been higher, I think, than in some of the other places. The next one, if you look at it, that we did virtually is Kim's factory, where we haven't had a single consultant on the shop floor. So the team there, again, because they were very dedicated, and somehow the virtual environment forced that a little bit upon us. But at the same time, it did work really well. And I think one of the things that made it actually a little bit more flexible is that normally you have a fixed period in which you need to get all the training done and all the instructions on the lines. Now we spread that out a little bit more so that it could actually match a bit more the needs on the shop floor and for the management on the local sites. But the end result is most definitely that I would say the systems are even more embedded in the organization. The ownership is more with the local team than if we had done a regular type of software introduction with training.
Brilliant. So thank you very much for, I think our time is almost up, but thank you for taking us through the impact of the digitization of your shop floor. If anyone wants more information, they can go to our 2021 productivity benchmark report, which is on the Redzone website. We'll send it out to everyone that's on the call as well. And you can see the results from all of the Redzone deployments across the globe. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Well done.